October 1st, 331 BCE, on a dusty plain near the village of Gaugamela in modern-day Iraq, two armies face each other in what will become one of history's most decisive battles. On one side stands Alexander of Macedon, a 25-year-old conqueror who has never lost a battle. On the other, Darius III, ruler of the mightiest empire the world has ever known, the Persian Achaemenid Empire, stretching from Egypt to India. By sunset, one empire will lie in ruins, and the course of world history will be forever changed. This is the story of Gaugamela, the battle that ended 2 centuries of Persian dominance and gave birth to the Hellenistic Age. To understand Gaugamela, we must first understand how these two men came to face each other on this particular field at this particular moment. In 336 BCE, Alexander inherited the throne of Macedon from his assassinated father, Philip II. He also inherited Philip's dream, the conquest of Persia. By 334 BCE, Alexander crossed into Asia with just 40,000 men, a fraction of Persia's potential forces. His first victory came at the Granicus River, opening Asia Minor to conquest. But the real test came in 333 BCE at Issus, where Alexander faced Darius himself for the first time. Despite commanding a much larger army, Darius chose to fight in a narrow coastal plain that negated his numerical advantage. Alexander seized the opportunity, personally leading a cavalry charge that nearly captured the Persian king. Darius fled, abandoning his family, his treasury, and his dignity. But Alexander didn't pursue Darius immediately. Instead, he turned south, conquering the Phoenician coast, besieging Tyre for 7 months, and taking Egypt, where he was crowned pharaoh. This strategic patience served multiple purposes: securing his supply lines, denying Persia's fleet any ports, and gathering resources for the campaign ahead. Meanwhile, Darius retreated to Babylon, then to the eastern provinces. He spent 2 years rebuilding his army, gathering forces from across his vast empire. This time, he would not make the same mistake. He would choose the battlefield, a wide, flat plain near Gaugamela, perfect for his cavalry and scythed chariots. By late summer 331 BCE, both armies were moving toward their confrontation. Darius had leveled the ground and removed obstacles to give his chariots maximum effectiveness. He was ready. Alexander was coming. Alexander's army numbered approximately 47,000 men. Small, yes, but this was perhaps the finest fighting force in ancient history. The core was the Macedon phalanx, 16,000 men armed with the sarissa, a pike up to 18 feet long. These men were professional soldiers, drilled to perfection, capable of complex maneuvers that would baffle larger, less disciplined forces. On the right wing rode Alexander's elite unit, the companion cavalry, 2,000 heavy cavalrymen who formed the hammer to the phalanx's anvil. These were noblemen, the best horsemen in the ancient world, and they would follow Alexander into hell itself. The army also included 7,000 Thessalonian cavalry, Greek allied infantry, archers, and javelin troops, a perfectly balanced combined arms force. Darius's army was far larger. Ancient sources claim anywhere from 100,000 to over 1,000,000 men, though modern historians estimate between 100,000 and 250,000. The exact number is less important than the diversity and challenge of commanding such a force. The Persian army included heavy cavalry from Bactria and Scythia, infantry from across the empire's satrapies, 200 scythed chariots, fearsome weapons with blades extending from their wheels and axles, 15 war elephants from India, and the Persian immortals, the empire's elite infantry. It was a multinational force, impressive in size but challenging to coordinate, with language barriers and varying levels of training and commitment. Darius had chosen his ground carefully. The plains near Gaugamela were wide and flat, no rivers or hills that Alexander could use for tactical advantage. The ground had been cleared and smoothed for the chariots. If ever Persia would win, it would be here, where numbers could tell. On the morning of October 1st, 331 BCE, the armies deployed for battle. Darius placed himself in the center, as Persian tradition demanded, in a magnificent chariot surrounded by his best infantry and cavalry. His plan was straightforward: extend his line beyond Alexander's flanks, envelop the smaller army, and crush it from all sides. Alexander countered with innovation. He arranged his army at an oblique angle and in unusual depth, with second lines and tactical reserves. If the Persians tried to surround him, these reserves would prevent encirclement. More importantly, he kept his right wing, where he would personally command the companion cavalry, mobile and ready to strike. As the armies approached, Alexander began moving his entire line to the right, a diagonal march that threatened to take his force off the prepared ground Darius had so carefully leveled. Darius had to respond. He ordered his left wing to extend further, trying to block Alexander's movement. This would prove to be his fatal mistake. Darius opened the battle by unleashing his scythed chariots, 200 terrifying weapons that had broken armies before. The chariots thundered toward the Macedonian lines, blades spinning, horses in full gallop. But Alexander was ready. His light infantry, javelin throwers, and archers stepped forward through gaps in the phalanx. They targeted the horses and drivers, creating chaos among the chariots. Some chariots made it through, but the phalanx had been trained to open lanes, allowing the chariots to pass harmlessly through where they were captured in the rear. The battle exploded across the entire line. On Alexander's left wing, the Thessalonian cavalry under Parmenion clashed with Persian horsemen. They were being pushed back, slowly giving ground under the weight of superior numbers. In the center, the phalanx ground forward against Persian infantry, push and shove, the brutal mathematics of ancient warfare. And Alexander waited. He watched the battle develop, searching for the moment, the opportunity that would decide everything. Then he saw it. As Darius's left wing extended to counter Alexander's rightward movement, a gap opened in the Persian center, a space between units, a moment of vulnerability. This was what Alexander had been waiting for. Alexander wheeled his companion cavalry into a wedge formation and charged. 2,000 horsemen, with Alexander himself at the tip of the spear, thundered toward the gap in the Persian line. They smashed through the opening, scattering Persian infantry. Alexander drove the wedge deeper, angling toward Darius's position in the center. The companions cut down everything in their path, and behind them, portions of the phalanx wheeled to follow, widening the breach. Persian guards rushed to defend their king, but the Macedonian cavalry was unstoppable. Alexander was visible in the thick of the fighting, identifiable by his distinctive helmet and white plume, always at the front, inspiring his men through personal courage. And then, for the second time in 3 years, Darius broke. Seeing Alexander's cavalry bearing down on him, the Persian king turned his chariot and fled the battlefield. Word spread instantly. The king has fled. For soldiers across the Persian line, this was devastating. In ancient warfare, soldiers fought for personal loyalty to their commander. When that commander ran, their reason to fight died. The Persian center began to disintegrate. Units broke and ran. Alexander's charge had shattered not just the formation, but Persian morale. But the battle wasn't over. On Alexander's left wing, Parmenion and the Thessalian cavalry were in serious trouble. Persian and Indian cavalry had actually broken through to the Macedonian camp, looting it. Parmenion sent urgent word to Alexander they needed help. Alexander faced an agonizing choice: pursue Darius and potentially end the war today, or save his own left wing from collapse. Reluctantly, he turned back, leading the companion cavalry to rescue Parmenion. Fighting here was fierce, perhaps the hardest of the day. But with Alexander's arrival, the tide turned. The Persian cavalry, hearing of Darius's flight and now facing Alexander's veterans, broke and fled. By evening, the Battle of Gaugamela was over. The casualties tell the story. Estimates suggest 40,000 to 90,000 Persian dead, compared to perhaps 1,000 to 5,000 Macedonians. It was a devastating, complete victory. But the true casualties couldn't be counted in bodies alone. Darius fled eastward, his authority shattered. Within weeks, Babylon, one of the ancient world's greatest cities, opened its gates to Alexander without resistance. The ceremonial capital of Susa surrendered next, giving Alexander access to vast treasuries. In January 330 BCE, Alexander reached Persepolis, the symbolic heart of Persian power. Whether by accident or design, the palace complex was burned, an act rich with symbolism, echoing the Persian burning of Athens 150 years earlier. Darius himself fled further east, desperately trying to rally forces, but he had become a liability to his own nobles. In July 330 BCE, Bessus, the satrap of Bactria, assassinated Darius, hoping to win favor with Alexander. Instead, Alexander honored Darius with a royal burial and pursued Bessus as a regicide. The Achaemenid Empire, which had ruled for 220 years, was finished. Alexander now controlled the largest empire the world had ever seen, from Greece to Egypt, from Asia Minor to the borders of India. He adopted Persian customs, married Persian noblewomen, and began to see himself not just as a Macedonian king, but as a universal ruler, a bridge between East and West. He founded cities across his new empire, many named Alexandria, planting Greek culture and language throughout the East. This cultural fusion would define the Hellenistic age for the next 3 centuries. Why did Alexander win? Let's examine the key factors. First, superior tactics. Alexander's oblique formation and use of reserves showed sophisticated military thinking. He didn't just react to Persian moves, he shaped the battle to create the opportunities he needed. Second, quality over quantity. The Macedonian army was professional, well-trained, and drilled in complex maneuvers. Persian numbers meant nothing when coordination broke down. Third, combined arms excellence. Alexander's army integrated infantry, cavalry, archers, and light troops seamlessly. Each element supported the others, creating a flexible, responsive force. Fourth, leadership. This cannot be overstated. Alexander led from the front, inspiring through personal example. When his men saw their king in the thick of fighting, they would follow him anywhere. Darius, by contrast, commanded from a chariot and fled when threatened, destroying his army's will to fight. Fifth, opportunity recognition. Alexander had the battlefield intelligence and tactical instinct to spot the gap in Persian lines and the decisiveness to exploit it instantly. Comparing to other decisive battles, Gaugamela belongs on any list of history's most decisive battles, alongside Salamis, Cannae, Hastings, and Waterloo. A single day's fighting ended one empire and established another, changing the trajectory of world history. The Battle of Gaugamela's impact resonated for centuries. Politically, it ended Persian dominance in the Near East and replaced it with Hellenistic kingdoms, the Ptolemies in Egypt, the Seleucids in Syria and Mesopotamia, and eventually, after Alexander's death in 323 BCE, the division of his empire among his generals. Culturally, it accelerated the exchange between Greek and Eastern civilizations. Greek became the lingua franca from Egypt to India. Greek philosophy, art, and science spread eastward. Eastern religions, mathematics, and astronomy influenced Greek thought. The Hellenistic world was cosmopolitan and culturally rich in ways that shaped later Roman and Islamic civilizations. Economically, Alexander's conquests opened trade routes, standardized currencies, and connected distant regions. The economic integration of Alexander's empire laid groundwork for the Silk Road and ancient global commerce. Militarily, Alexander's tactics were studied by generals for 2 millennia. Julius Caesar, Napoleon, and countless others analyzed his campaigns. The Battle of Gaugamela became a textbook example of decisive leadership, combined arms warfare, and the importance of morale. Our knowledge of the battle comes from ancient historians, primarily Arrian, who wrote 450 years later, but used accounts from Alexander's companions, as well as Plutarch, Diodorus Siculus, and Curtius Rufus. Their descriptions vary in details, but agree on the outcome and significance. Today, the battlefield near Tel Gomel in northern Iraq is quiet farmland, but for one day in 331 BCE, it witnessed a clash that ended one era and began another. Alexander the Great would continue campaigning eastward, reaching India before his army finally refused to go further. He died in Babylon in 323 BCE, not yet 33 years old, leaving no clear heir. His empire fragmented, but the world he created, the Hellenistic world, endured. And it all became inevitable on that dusty plain near Gaugamela, where a 25-year-old Macedonian king spotted a gap in the enemy line and changed history with a single, perfect cavalry charge. The Battle of Gaugamela, where courage, tactical genius, and decisive action ended the Achaemenid Empire and forged a new world from the ruins of the old.